Today we are going to discuss knowledge of self through the purification of consciousness. We have already learned that the spirit, when it is embodied, becomes chitta, that is consciousness, and that is its first covering, which is causal body or covering of intellect. Subsequently, in the subtle body, ego, mind, and sense perceptions and faculties of action are added to the causal body, and that forms the subtle body. And finally, the five gross elements constitute the gross body. Though chitta or consciousness is primarily in the causal body, it pervades all the three bodies when we function. When we function with the gross body, our consciousness is projected outward, and we react with the external world. We may call it extroverted consciousness or physical consciousness. When we are withdrawn from the external world and introspect or go within, then our psychomental consciousness begins to function. Gross extroverted consciousness gives way to the psychomental consciousness. But here remember that when we function in an extroverted manner, as the consciousness which is in causal body is also functioning at the gross level. Similarly, psychomental consciousness also functions at the gross level. So at gross level, all layers of consciousness function till one gets extroverted fully. Pardon? Extroverted. Then, as we withdraw further from the psychomental consciousness and go into the causal body, our intuitive consciousness begins to function. Intuitive consciousness. Consciousness, yes, which is beyond reason, logic, mind, intellect. It is intuition coming from within, because at that time our consciousness is very near to the spirit and the causal body. Yet there is some amount of nescience, and so we are unable to realize the spirit. But when that also vanishes and we are further withdrawn, then consciousness becomes super consciousness, and we are one with the spirit, and that is self-realization. That is the state of samadhi, where we realize the spirit. Now, this is, in short, knowledge of self. By withdrawing consciousness from extroverted functioning to introverted functioning, and then subsequently back to the cause, and then merging with the spirit. Then consciousness becomes spirit or super consciousness or whatever we may call. Then there is no separateness from spirit. Now, this is a short explanation of it. But how to achieve this? That is the biggest problem. Understanding theory takes only 5 minutes, but putting it into practice may take 5 lifetimes or even more. Before we understand how to withdraw the consciousness back into the spirit, we must see why consciousness at all extends itself further to the extroverted world. And here, the definition given by sage Patanjali should be understood well. Yogas chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga means annihilation of any modification of consciousness. Chitta vritti. Now what is that vritti or modification? How is chitta modified? Because Patanjali talks not about annihilating chitta, but annihilating chitta vrittis, the modifications of mind. Consciousness by itself, when it is pure, it is all-knowing. So what is the use of destructing that? What is to be destroyed is the vrittis, modifications of chitta. What are the modifications? First, let us understand vritti or modification through an analogy. Suppose there is a water pool in which there is water, clear, steady. Its surface is quite steady, not disturbed. And if you look through that water, you will see the pebbles lying at the bottom, because it is clear. If you look into it, you will find your own image reflected in it, like a mirror. So consciousness, when it is pure, it is like that. Now, when you throw a pebble from outside, its surface is disturbed and waves are created. And no sooner the surface is disturbed, your vision becomes blurred. It cannot penetrate that level of water, and you don't see the pebbles lying at the bottom. It means that the steady surface of water, when it becomes unsteady, visibility goes and the view becomes blurred. The same thing happens that when spirit is touched by Prakriti or Maya, which was spirit, which was pure consciousness, all-knowing, that consciousness becomes blurred. And so it doesn't know what is the depth of mind. As I told you, Brahman is Sat, Chit, Anand. There's Chit is C-H-I-T, only one T. Now we were the same Sat, Chit, Anand as Atman. But no sooner the pebble of nescience touches us, we become Chitta. C-H-I-T-T-A. Now that is the difference between Chit and Chit. The blurred surface is Chitta and steady surface of water is Chit. This is just an analogy. Even sea water, it is all wavy. There are waves and waves and waves and waves. So one can say that sea can never be silent. Even if you want to make it, how to do it? So our consciousness, Chitta, has become like that wavy sea. Waves after waves after waves go on coming, and we don't know how they are generated. So one pebble that fell into our steady consciousness, the pebble of nescience, and it generated waves, and then waves after waves come up. As we knew that nescience is the first clash, affliction, that touches the soul. And from nescience comes out another clash, asmita. From avidya comes asmita. And from asmita comes rag and dvesh, all dualities, many types of oscillations. And then abhinivesh, clinging to the physical body. And all five clashes bring so many disturbances and distractions that they never end. Not only they do not end with one lifetime, they don't end with many lifetimes also. And there won't be any end unless we ourselves strive with an understanding to come out of it. And so, Chitta has vrittis or modifications, and the vrittis start with first clash, avidya, with nescience. Patanjali tells us that the vrittis are innumerable, but they can be classified into 5 major types. They are praman, viparya, praman, viparya, he will show it. Praman, viparya, vikalpa, nidra, and smriti. First is praman, the right knowledge. Second is viparya, wrong knowledge. Third is vikalpa, imagination. Fourth is nidra, sleep. Fifth is smriti, memory. Our consciousness broadly does these 5 things. And any vritti, any modification of consciousness will fall into either of these 5. When we are in a waking state, either consciousness grasps the right knowledge through experience, through interaction, by way of learning, listening, or it gains wrong knowledge. In the same way, or it withdraws inside and just imagines something. When we are awake and still not extroverted, when we are thinking our own selves, we are just imagining. So that's imagination. But when we get tired, then we sleep. And in dream also we imagine. And sometimes we are trying to memorize and try to remember the past things. Or even if we sometimes don't try to remember, some memories come to us. So consciousness, the modifications of consciousness are in these 5 classes. That is, sage Patanjali says. And one has to overcome all these 5. If you see, it is, in short, overcoming the physical body, that is waking state, dream state, and sleep state. Or we may say, the physical body, gross body, subtle body, and the causal body. So whether we call transcending the bodies or transcending the states, waking, sleeping, dreaming, or we may say that annihilating the modifications of consciousness, they are all one and the same. If you start doing one, the others will happen. Now, what is this praman? Whether the knowledge is right or not can be decided by proof. There must be some proof whether a thing is right or wrong. So, praman again are of 3 types, as Patanjali says. Pratyaksha, Anuman, Agam. Pratyaksha is what we see with our own eyes, what is in front of us. So we believe that that is a proof. We believe that there is a blackboard in front of us because we can see it. So no other proof is necessary. It is the right knowledge from our point of view. Though board is also Maya, it's all illusion. Ultimately it is Brahman. Anuman. Anuman is inference. Inference. How inference also is a proof. Suppose from a distance you see smoke coming out from some place. You don't see fire there, but you will say that there is fire, and you are not wrong. Because there cannot be smoke without fire. So that sort of inference also is proof. It is a sort of an indirect proof, but also a proof. And third is agam. Agam means scriptures. The testimony of God. Scriptures. Agam also are known as scriptures. Agam means also scriptures. It's another word which Patanjali has used. So I am giving you. So agam also means scriptures. So here it means testimony of the scriptures, testimony of the words written by sages. They cannot be wrong. And that is why, as Our scriptures are called Shabda Praman. Shabda is word and Praman, proof, top. So all these three are Praman. Agam also is Shabda Praman, the words of the scripture. Now, when we want to find out whether our knowledge is right or wrong, these are the three means of finding right knowledge. One, pratyaksha. If you see, you believe. That's what today physical sciences do. The present day modern science says that whatever we see with our eyes, we believe in. So that is pratyaksha. Another thing is anuman. Anuman is inference, as I told. Even science, logic accepts inferences. You know there are two types of logic, deductive and inductive. And inference is a part of the syllogism that by inference also you have to accept. As I told, that if you see the smoke coming out, you can very well say that there is fire. You have not seen fire, you have only seen smoke. But by inference you tell that there is fire, and you will not be wrong. So this sort of inference also is proof. And third proof, if you neither by inference you know whether this is right, nor by just seeing yourself, then verify from the books. If the scriptures say it is like this, believe. That is proof. Why? Because those are the words of the wise sages who knew about everything, past, present, future, etc. That is why the scriptures are proof. So Patanjali, yeah.
In our scriptures were protected like the scientific documents, means nobody can add anything without the appropriate approach, means, and so there is no need, there is no way of distorting it either. So that's why you can trust it, and it has been treated like a science.
I hear that in Bible you have some various editions, and there have been some changes.
Some delay.
Some, yes, at different periods they have worked upon it to improve or in a way not improve, but the original words must have been really final, because great people will not tell us anything wrong. So these three are types of praman. Then viparya, the wrong knowledge. What is this wrong knowledge? You are going in moonlight and you see a snake lying on the road. So you are afraid. And then with a stick you want to drive it away. You touch and it doesn't move. And then you feel that, oh, it's a dead snake. Then you have the courage of going near because it is not moving. And as you go near and see, you find that it is a rope, not a snake. So, when you first thought that it is a snake, it was a wrong knowledge. But as you went near and stuck by a stick, and it did not move, so you had two inferences. Either it is a dead snake or it is not a snake. So you went near and saw with your own eyes and verified that it is a rope. Then it became pratyaksha praman. But first, when you thought that it is a snake, was a wrong knowledge. So the entire world generally that we see is like that wrong knowledge. It is all viparya. As you will go nearer to your consciousness and nearer to the spirit, you will find only spirit is real. The whole world was deceptive. And third is vikalpa, it's imagination. In imagination we can imagine anything, you see. There are thousands of novels written, fictions, and imagination has no end, you know. And yet, we are so interested, we know they write on the top of the book that this is a fiction. And yet, we would like to read it. For what? There is no answer. But we read it. And if we don't read, how can publishers print that? Without earning, they won't print. So we like even vikalpa. Imaginations also we like. We know that this is not truth and we read the whole book right from first page to the last. We are so, you see, so much fascinated by untruth.
It's an entertainment.
Yes. So that is vikalpa. And then nidra. Consciousness, when it functions at extroverted level for a long time, it gets tired and it needs rest. So even if you want to make the consciousness work, it will rebel against you. And at one point it will sit down and won't move at all. And so you have to also sit down and sleep. That is needed. Now that is because of our limitation. And in other words, if we say that before we say that we have realized ourselves, we must have overcome sleep. Now you can understand why I stick to many things according to scripture. I won't accept any wrong certificate from anybody. If you see a person sleeping, if he needs rest at night or any time, he is not a self-realized soul. That is what Patanjali says. It is a chitta vritti. It is a modification of consciousness. So,
where can you find a psychology that can go deeper than this? This is profound.
when a yogi enters Laya Yoga and he remains in Laya Samadhi for an hour and a half, he will conquer sleep. And that is why I always insist and tell people that real yoga is Laya Yoga. Till then you don't know yoga. Scriptures tell everything when this happens. And conquering sleep means conquering sleep, then he need not sleep at all. I will give you an example. When Ram went into the forest for 14 years, Lakshman, his younger brother, accompanied him, that he may be able to serve him and be useful to him. It is said for 14 years Lakshman has not slept. If Ram was God, Lakshman was Shesh, the residual energy that I explained, Sheshnag, that serpent out of residual power. Lakshmana is supposed to be incarnation of Sesh. When Lord incarnates, his residual energy also incarnates, because Lord assumes a form, so some residue must remain. When he incarnated as Krishna, Balram, his elder brother, was Sesh. So Lakshman did not sleep for 14 years. You will read in Ramayana. This is conquering of sleep. Bhishma Pitama, he never slept. You read in Mahabharata. And that is why he had no death. At will, at choice, he can leave the body, but he would not die. In spite of being hit by the arrows, and so many arrows just penetrated his body, and he was not touching the earth, lying on bed of arrows. And yet he did not die for 58 days. And after 58 days also he did not die. He left the body at will by yoga dharana. And how he did yoga dharana, you know? In Mahabharata it is written that he had not a drop of blood in his body. He became so emaciated, only a skeleton. After 58 days, when he decided to give up the body, all Pandavas and great sages all came, and as a matter of fact, great sages were sitting beside him for all the 58 days and listening to him give him discourse. Sages. So, when the Pandavas came, Vishnu was looking around. So, Yudhishthira thought that perhaps grandfather wants to say something and is searching for someone. So Yudhishthira asked, "For whom are you looking for?" He says, "I am not looking for any ordinary person." He says, "You have any last desire?" He said, "I didn't have any desire for the whole life. How can I have last desire? But I have last desire, and that is Lord Krishna has promised me that before I give up the body, he will give me darshan. So I am just waiting. All of you have come, but where is Krishna?" And soon after that, Krishna arrives. And when he arrives, he tells that, "Well, Lord Krishna, now if you permit me to leave this body, I would like to leave this body." Krishna says, "Well, Pitama, you are a pious soul. You are absolutely sattvic person. You have never committed even a single sin in your life." That is what Krishna says. And you are master of death. So, jolly well, you can leave the body if you like and go back to Vasulok. He was a Vasu. He came from Vasulok, and so he said, by leaving the body, you can go back to Vasulok. But Krishna says that, "Pitama, wait for some time." He says, "Yes, what is it?" So Krishna says that you are embodiment of wisdom, and before you leave this body, I would wish that you give some sermons to these people. And then he tells Yudhishthira, the eldest of the Pandavas, that Yudhishthira, if you have any question, any doubt, if you want to know anything, ask Bhishma Pitama now, before he leaves the body. He will tell you the truth. Now, Yudhishthira thought that this old man is injured. Not a drop of blood has remained in his body. He is lying on a bed of arrows. He is so emaciated, and I would not like to give trouble to him at this last moment by asking questions. So Yudhishthira says, well, I have nothing to ask. At this moment I don't want. Krishna says, ask. You will lose an opportunity. You will never get such a wise person in your lifetime. You are a Dharmaraja. You know Dharma very well. Yudhishthira was very pious. That you know Dharma very well, but still there are many things you have to learn from Bhishma. And then Yudhishthira starts asking the questions. And it is the longest chapter in Mahabharata. Bhishma goes on answering, and right from politics to ordinary social life and small things, everything is asked. If you just read what Bhishma tells in answer to Yudhishthira, his last sermon, lying on the arrow bed, that should be enough. Nothing more needs to be known. Bhishma, yes, he said, Yudhishthira asked one question, that what is the best form, easiest way to attain God? So Bhishma says, oh, chant Vishnu Sahasranam, 1,000 names of Vishnu, as people here chant. But that seems easy, chanting, but that's not merely chanting as we do. It is concentrating on each name. It is like mantra. So, Bhishma gave sermons on the deathbed, and he had wisdom. He never slept in his life. So he had wisdom, and so he had conquered death. But it is said that Draupadi wanted to ask a question, and she was on the point of asking. Then she withdrew. Bhishma saw that. Bhishma says, Draupadi, you wanted to ask something? She says, no. Says, no, you were trying to say something, but you didn't. Draupadi says, I have already asked a question to you years ago, when my clothes were snatched from my body by Dushasana. You were sitting in that court of King Dhritarashtra. And at that time I appealed to everybody that, is this dharma? That Dushasana wants to make me nude in this court and nobody speaks? I asked you, Bhishma Pitama, at that time. You didn't answer, you just looked aside. Isn't it a good question? Bhishma said, yes, my daughter. At that time, I didn't answer. I knew it was wrong. But why I did not speak at that time? He said, in my body, there was blood created out of Duryodhana's food. because it was kingdom of Dhritarashtra and his son Duryodhana. And Bhishma just was serving the state. So he said, I had my livelihood from the state. So I ate the food of Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana, and it is said in our scripture, Khai enu kodai nahi. He understands, it's Gujarati. You cannot speak bad of a person whose food you have eaten. That also is dharma. So he said, so I didn't say anything at that time. I knew that was wrong. I should have spoken, but I didn't. But today you see, there is not a single drop of blood in my body. So I am free from that debt. So I can tell you the truth. And answer is not needed. They were bad people and they have got their due. Because by that time Mahabharata was over and Pandavas had won. But he gave the reason why he didn't tell the truth in spite of being such a wise man. What is the depth of dharma you can understand now.